Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a beautiful day out there. I generally should be in a good mood, except for I got this really bad headache. So hopefully it doesn't interfere with my training. Let me go ahead and close that one off and that one. But today I want to talk to you about the 7-step process that I've been teaching for, I've refined it since the last 8 years. I've really locked on it tight since 2020, let's say. So the last 5 years, I've really been teaching this whole idea of 7-step process for success. And I believe firmly that when you follow a process, you're going to have the results that you want. Process requires us to understand the steps that are inside of a process, to have the knowledge and skills to execute on those steps. But fundamentally, it comes down to here's the process, and we're going to have success. If I just, take it back to the very basics for 1 second, if you think about a process, it's something as simple as requesting time off if you have a job, right? The process begins with you deciding you want to request time off. You start filling out a form. And the first question we're asking you is, do you have available time off to be able to use, right? And these series of questions are the process to approve your time off. And that path in there, that goes pretty much every question it asks is in the positive that leads to you getting time off. That's what I call the happy path. There are some exceptions. And what I always try to teach people in software development and workflow development is first build your happy path and then build the exceptions one at a time. Well, for us, government contracting success, it's kind of something similar, is that there's a happy path to success in the federal market. There are some exceptions in different areas where the process might deviate a teeny bit, but for the most part, 90+%, right? For the most part, the process is really straightforward. Actually, let me see if I can pull up and I'll show you in a second. It's funny, recently I deleted one particular image that I use all the time in my lives. And that particular thing was one of my most important ones, which is this 7-step process. So let me just add it in really quick. I just got it right here in my handouts. And I want to show you as I'm talking along to the 7-step process. So let me see which one I want to use. I'll just use this one. Okay, so 2 seconds. I'm going to show it. I'm going to turn off my camera for 1 second. That's funny. That might actually be a little hard for you to see there. I don't know why it's not really filling in, but I'll just use it as an example. I'm not sure why there's a challenge there, but actually it doesn't matter because this is what I plan on doing today anyways. I plan on walking you through an actual example of following the process into a program executive office within the Department of Defense, right? But the 7-step process that I teach, the happy path of the 7-step process is research, targeting, outreach, lead to strategic relationships, slam dunk opportunities, winning proposals, which get you sales. That's the 7-step process to federal revenue, right? The last step being sales will lead to the revenue. And so I'll walk through that in a minute. But the idea of this process is whether you're starting out as a government contractor, whether you're a billion-dollar firm and you're trying to go into a new program office, new agency, et cetera, it's the same thing. You fundamentally are going to research the agency you want to get into. Then you're going to do targeting, which is identifying people you could possibly reach out to and develop relationships with. Then you're going to do outreach. You're going to pick up the phone, send emails. You're going to call them. Then you're going to build those strategic relationships, because strategic relationships within an agency or within any customer, commercial, federal, doesn't really matter. Strategic relationships are what will lead to your ultimate success, because through them, you will hear about slam dunk opportunities that your company can win in order for you to capture, like pursue that opportunity in a way that enables you to write a winning proposal, which theoretically will lead to a lot more sales success, leading to federal revenue. So that's the 7-step process. I have done 200+ trainings on the 7-step process, broken it down, but I thought for today, I would do it a different way by looking at a program executive office, an actual real world scenario that has recently kind of come up, but it's in the Department of Defense. So that's what I'm going to do in today's training, to teach you a different way of looking at how do we do business development, capture, et cetera, federal sales. If you don't know who I am, my name is McDonnell. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am co-founder of GovCon in a Box, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a government contractor after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. This is why I do everything I do, is because I want you to have predictable results, repeatable results. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow me on LinkedIn. I put out a ton of content constantly, exactly what I'm about to show with you in a minute, that enables you to have more success in the federal market. Also connect with each other on LinkedIn, right? This is a place where I do training, but also I bring you together so that you can strengthen your community with each other, independent of me. Okay, so we're gonna get rocking and rolling today, and let me share my screen. So hold on one second. And by the way, if I haven't, like if you get here a little late, I got a little bit of a headache, so it's throwing me a teeny bit off, but the training will be good. Just if I'm a little off kilter, this is why. Okay, let me just make sure I am sharing what I want to share. I think I am. Boom, I am good. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna talk to you about the 7-step process from a real world scenario. And in this particular case, let me see if I can go full screen because I don't really need all the extra stuff. Full screen mode. It's funny. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm sharing my full screen mode. I think I am. So we'll watch this in a second. Okay. So I just posted this deck this morning. This came from in May, there was Soft Week, which was Special Operations Forces, huge conference around the Special Operations Commands throughout all the different services within DoD, right? They come together for something called Soft Week, and there's a lot of information that was put out. And this is one example of a piece that I was putting out that I wanted to share because this is an office I'm not familiar with, right? I'm not familiar with everything that's out there. So here's a program executive office called Tactical Information System. You can see that down towards the bottom of the slide. And in here, I want to follow my 7-step process to begin to have success. So one of the first things you do, the first step of the 7-step process is research, right? And in research, just making sure I can see my slides on my phone. Well, hopefully it'll come up in a second. Let me just look. Good. Okay, so research, though, is about learning the agency. I like to say learning the agency better than anybody in the agency could know. In this case, we'll change the word agency to Program Executive Office. In the DoD, instead of an agency, it could be called a command. But the idea is wherever you're trying to go, whether it's a Program Executive Office like this or a broader agency, it doesn't matter. The idea is you want to do research into that agency. There's many ways you can do research. You can look at their strategic plans. There's also things called strategic action plans. So if I have a strategic plan for what I want to do with my agency, my action plan is how I'm going to implement the goals and the objectives I've defined in the strategic plan. I could do research by looking at the budget. Right now, a lot of the draft budgets are coming out that independent of whatever happens with Congress and the White House and getting it passed, they're really good indicators of what's going on within that agency in the forward years, right? Certainly in FY 2026. So I can do that for research. I'm trying to understand the organization by its structure, by its mission, et cetera. So in this particular case, I have this deck. And as I come down, remember, this agency, for lack of a better word, is called Program Executive Office Tactical Information System. So PEOTIS. I'm going to come down here, right? I'm going to start learning about this because my boss just gave me, this deck, or my boss just said, hey, I want you to get us into PEOTIS. Okay, what the heck is that? That's where research is beginning, phase 1, right? And as long as I'm doing step 1 of the process, I'll tell you about step 2, and I'll do them together. Step 2 is targeting, and targeting is about finding people. If you're looking at my slide right now, then you can see that the program executive officer for Tactical Information Systems is David Breed, right? So I've got his contact information right there. So I'm starting to come down. You're going to see that I research, And along the way, I will be able to build a list of people. So let me just go through the slides, right? One of the first things I want to do is understand the mission, right? It's one thing to understand the mission of Special Operations Command. It's another thing to understand the mission of the Army or the Air Force or DOD, right? In this particular case, I'm coming down, I'm saying, hey, 𝗟𝗶𝗆𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂, I understand your mission, at least from here, right? Lead the rapid and tailored acquisition of 𝗟𝗵ℚ technology to enable overmatched situational awareness and resilient communication in contested environments for soft warfighters. I'm looking at that thing. I'm beginning to align my business to this. Do I fit in here with these guys? Where will I begin to align my company in here so that I understand I'm not selling them products or services. I am helping them accomplish their mission. I just happen to do it with products and services. So I'm starting to do my research coming down. In here, I'm beginning to understand special reconnaissance. And on the next page, you'll see, I think it's regular reconnaissance, right? I'm able to collaborative special reconnaissance, right? Oh, so this idea of going to the joint force, right? If you don't understand, Special Operations Force is not one thing or one entity, right? When you start looking at it, you start realizing, it's the Army, it's the Navy, it's the Air Force, et cetera. It's joint command. So it's all of them kind of made up. Together it makes Special Operations Force. But in here, I start learning that, right? It's okay if I didn't know anything about it beforehand. This is research. Step one is research. Before I ever try to talk to anybody, before I ever try to find an opportunity in 𝗟𝗶𝗆𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂, I want to understand them. I want to make sure when I open my mouth with them, I'm having some level of communication around what's in here. I don't want them to say special reconnaissance and collaborative special reconnaissance. I'm like, what? That's the first time I ever heard it. No, I don't need to be an expert, right? I just need to be aware. That's what research is doing for me. So as I come down, right, I'm like, whoa, here's the different systems that are out there, right? And it goes back again to that mission that's there. But here I can start getting an idea what's in, right? Today's training is not about looking at all these things. But as I start coming in, I start paying attention to really important things, like right in the center, right? Tactical communication, technical collection and communication, integrated sensor systems, transport systems, identity, intelligence and exploitation, and remote capabilities. These are the 6 programs within 𝗟𝗆𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂, which I'll show you in a second. I happen to have read ahead in the slides, so I know that. But these you can see being highlighted in that green circle, they pop out. I'm like, I should know these. These are something I might want to memorize if I'm going to start working with this customer or pursuing them, right? I don't need to memorize everything. But basic org structure type titles, yes, I do. The other thing is, I'm telling myself right here, I'm going to go back to my boss or to my peers, my colleagues, and say, hey, so I'm understanding what's going on with these 6 programs within 𝗟𝗆𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. Which ones do you think I should dive in? Like, let's rack and stack these 6 programs so that I know which door to knock on first. There's no point in me knocking on transport systems if really our main focus is tactical. I don't mind knocking on all the doors because they all might work with each other one way or another, but there clearly is a priority. All right, so let's keep coming down. I'm going to skip that slide. So now I'm starting to come into this next set of slides, which we'll see repeated as we go forward. So here's Charles Wilson, Program Manager for Integrated Sensor Systems. And remember, right inside that circle, here's Integrated Sensor Systems. This is how I know. It's like, oh, okay, these are the program offices that they're putting in. So if I come down here, I'm starting to learn a little bit about this program, right, by the mission statement for Integrated Sensor System. But I just wrote Charles' name down. So I'm doing targeting and research at the same time because this deck is such a great deck, right? But in here, I can start learning about what they're talking about, some of their tools, et cetera. But this is a really great, massive piece of information for my research into 𝗟𝗆𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 or TIS, right? I can see their capability development areas. I can look in here and go, oh, you guys are doing advanced processing at the edge, right? And theoretically, I know what the edge is, but I'm like, oh, that's what we do. I want to be able to put that down, to be able to talk with Charles and explore the challenges and the goals that he and his team have. And so I'm looking at capability development. I'm looking at upcoming opportunities because it gives me a lot more, right? And so you can see the same thing as I start coming down. I'm not going to go through them too much this way, but as I come down, there's Christopher and it's identity, intelligence, and exploitation. What the heck is that? Right? So I'm going to skip this one. Well, no, right here, document media exploitation, right? I got a company I just put out some information they did yesterday. and they deal with AI and around document management, et cetera. So these guys, they might fit in. They might come in and have a conversation here, et cetera. I'm figuring out where does it fit in. And again, I come back here. To me, this capability development area, this is in a deck, but I could go to their website and I would probably see something similar. And I know that when I go to different civilian and defense agencies, many of them are kind of communicating the same message about what do we do? How can you help us? What are our priorities? Whether they have it on a website page or inside a strategic document is just the different media to get to you. So anyways, I'm looking in here, seeing different stuff. Now I'm going to come through. Here's Chad, transport systems. Here's Heather. She does technical collection and communication. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm in the communication area. I'm looking in here. I'm saying, okay, high bandwidth SATCOMs. Yeah, that's what I do, or whatever that is, right? I've been out of that kind of technical world for a while. Tactical communication. Here's Lieutenant, I don't know how to pronounce his name, so let's just call him Lieutenant John, or Lieutenant Colonel John. Anyways, but I can come in here. I start looking. I'm learning. You get the point of research. I'm digging in, and same thing with this one where I'm in remote capabilities. So I just went through PEO-TIS, and let's say I actually took the proper amount of time. I would spend 2 hours on this, kind of really understanding it, organizing it around. I'm going to try to choose those 6 groups and say, which ones do I want to help? I'm coming into here, and I'm starting to realize, well, this one goes a little bit more to soft week. Here's collaboration. This is the slide I want to get to. If I want to talk to more people, right? Here's Ashley Ferrier. She's the, I think, deputy program manager or deputy director of Office of Small Business Programs. Basically, she's the head of all small business traffic, right? In SOCOM, and so the idea is to reach out to her. So now I got somebody else. I also see that there's Kimberly here, right? And I can research more about Kimberly, but it's saying if you want to engage on Vulcan, I don't know what Vulcan is. First off, I'm going to go research it. Do I want to talk to Kimberly? I have all this just from one deck. And SOCOM, as an example agency, has tons of information. If you go over to the SOCOM site, it talks about its leadership. It talks about its truths. It's got 2025 fact sheets. It's got all sorts of stuff that enables me to start reaching out. And all of that, let me go back up here really quick. All of that enabled me in this green sheet to begin to have a plan. This research is helping me have a plan for PEO-TIS on how I can go in, how I can begin to get in the door there. And so let me come back for a second. And this is the whole idea of research. I want to understand that organization. I did that research on PEO-TIS in, what was that, 15 minutes, let's say. But if I really was going to go after PEO-TIS, I would take 2 or 3 weeks. I would not waste my time even calling anybody until I spent 2 or 3 weeks really lining up a strategic approach, right? And it's not that I'm wasting my time. I want to take the time to read their documents, to understand the challenges, to truly understand where can my company help that agency. It is not how can I get them to buy my stuff. It is about where can I help. When we do that, we're showing the people we're going to go knock on the doors with in outreach, step 3, we're showing them that we care. There's a great line, people don't care what you know until they know you care. People don't care what you know, your products, your services, all that stuff. They don't care what you know until they know you care. How can you demonstrate that you care? I submit research is one of the easiest ways. When you walk into a meeting and it's obvious to them that you have done your homework, they know that you care. And they're like, okay, let's hear what you have to say. If you cared enough to research us, I care enough to listen to you. That's kind of the idea of the process, right? Is to prepare yourself to have successful sales calls. Okay, so that was research, targeting. I did along with it. Inside of targeting, which, it's an extension of research to a degree. I would spend more time and build up in PEO-TIS. I would want 100 people before I reached out to the first person. I would want 100 names in a spreadsheet or whatever that I'm able to reach out to, because you can't reach everybody you try to call. Not everybody who you reach is going to want to meet with you, right? So I want to have enough people that I guarantee myself access to PEO-TIS so that I can get in the door, start building relationships, et cetera. Okay, so I just did this research. I got people on PEO-TIS. My next thing is I want to do outreach. So outreach is, for me, it's in 3 kind of phases, if you will. And It's funny. This is the very first time I'm saying that outreach is in 3 phases. So let's see how it sounds for me. The first phase is I'm reaching out to schedule a meeting. What I mean by that is if I get them on the phone, I do not want to talk to them. I want to say, can we schedule a meeting next week or the week after? Because now that I have a meeting with a person, I will do a deeper dive research into them and what they care about. The research that I have talked about is holistically with PEO-TIS. But if I get in the door with somebody in the sensors program, then I need to find out more about them. There's a rule in sales: don't waste your time researching people unless you have a meeting, because otherwise you'll research 100 people and meet with 3, and you'll spend too much time. I think that makes sense, right? And so the idea is the first phase of outreach is getting out, scheduling a meeting. The second is having an initial meeting, right? That first meeting where you can establish that it makes sense to you and to them to have a continued relationship. Right? And in the beginning, it's a really basic relationship, and hopefully you'll develop it into a strategic relationship, which is the next step. But anyways, that second phase of outreach after scheduling the meeting is having the first meeting. I teach a lot about using a call plan going in there, but the big guidance you want on this is there's a difference between having a great meeting and a successful meeting. A great meeting for me is I go in there and I talk to them, and I was like, hey, I was in the Rangers when I was in the Army, so I was in special ops. It's exciting. Hey, let me tell you about my company, blah, blah. It's all great. We should talk again. And then nothing, right? No forward movement in the sale. No true forward movement in the relationship. By the way, if you move the relationship forward, you're moving the sale forward. So there's no true movement forward when a meeting is just great. A meeting needs to be successful. And so a call plan, when I'm having that first meeting in particular, is establishing what is my measurement of success. And step 3 of my 7-step process is outreach. And outreach, its whole purpose is to lead to step 4, which are strategic relationships. Okay, so the third phase of outreach is more meetings. You don't go from a first meeting to a strategic relationship. You probably need 3 to 10 meetings with somebody. So that's all still part of outreach. You're going back, you're having more meetings. You're establishing yourself as a subject matter expert, as a trusted advisor, if you will. You're able to begin to engage with them. If they don't engage with you, then it's not going to be a strategic relationship. You wish it was, but you just like them. They don't like you, kind of thing, right? And then, by the way, if my face is going squirrely, I just got this splitting headache, but I want to bring the value. So we've had success in outreach. We got in the door. We've begun to build the relationship. What I want you to think about in step 4, and step 4 is when we have strategic relationships. These are relationships where there is a commitment to mutual growth. They're committed to me and I'm committed to them. In this particular case, the government might want, what they want out of the relationship is information from industry. What's being done in other places? What ideas do you have around our requirements? How can we meet our challenges? They want to engage and learn from industry, right? From me. And what I want is something similar. And I actually don't think I need to tell you what I want from a buyer, right? We all kind of want that same thing, is we want access to information. We want to be introduced to people. We want to hear about opportunities, which is the next step, right? In the 7-step process, step 5 is slam dunk opportunities. When you have strategic relationships together with things like SAM and eBuy and whatever, you hear about opportunities that look like they were written for your company, right? Because you've done your research, it makes it so much easier to identify those opportunities within PEO-TIS that are slam dunks for your company. You want to protect your sales pipeline by step 5, making sure you're putting opportunities into your pipeline that you know your company can win, right? We're the best at this. We can go after it. When you've got the right slam dunk opportunities in there, the next phase or the next step of the 7-step process, step 6, is winning proposals, right? It's not enough to write proposals and send them out the door. You only want to be writing winning proposals. These are proposals that if the government contracting officer looked at it, they would like, yep, let's award to it. The only challenge you want to face is that there's competitors who also have winning proposals. That's fine, right? You win 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 opportunities, but at least you're going to win when you submit winning proposals. Think about the opposite of that. If you're not submitting a winning proposal, then you're not moving the buyer to want to buy from you. And so winning proposal is making sure your proposal has been well prepared. We call that capture if you're not familiar with this in federal sales. But basically it means when you find an opportunity you like, and before you write a response, you're working to learn from the buyer. You're working to influence the buyer. You're preparing your solution around what will serve the customer the best, right? That capture phase between identifying an opportunity and responding to an RFP is capture. When you do that, it enables you to write a winning proposal. And that moves us to the last step. When you write a winning proposal, you increase your chances of landing sales, right? Sales is the 7th step. Contract award, whatever you want to call it, right? That 7th step, sales, is just you winning based on the winning proposals. And I say, and there's not a lot of dialogue in there because you either win or lose, but basically you should be winning 1 out of 4 opportunities that you write. If you're not, you want to look at the opportunities you're pursuing. You want to look at the quality of the proposal that's being sent. The beauty of a 7-step process like this, it is so easy to figure out where the problem is that's hampering you from having the revenue success you want. If you don't have enough sales, then you need to look at the winning proposals. If your proposals are winning proposals, but you're just not winning enough, you need to look at your pipeline, the slam dunk opportunities, and say, do we have enough slam dunk opportunities? Obviously, we've got slam dunk. So now it's a matter of, are they really slam dunk? And do we have enough of them? Are they of sufficient size, et cetera? And you can do the same thing all the way back through the process. So the idea of the 7-step process, just really quick again, research, targeting, outreach, leads to strategic relationships, slam dunk opportunities, winning proposals, which will get you sales and get you revenue. When you follow my 7-step process, you're going to have success. It will help you get to know the customer, and the customer will begin to want to work with you. I'm not actually showing the picture at the moment, but the way I show the last 4 steps of the process is, once you're on that, you kind of keep winning. If you really commit to the customer and keep building that relationship, you keep growing. And it's the same thing with PEOTIS as an example that I use today. I can help them in one of those programs and maybe help them in a couple others, and then maybe get introduced to other program offices or program executive offices, right? So whole other groups like, PEO Enterprise at the Army or PEO Digital at the Navy. Like, you have this ability to build the respect, obviously, when you get traction in there. Okay, so really just as you move forward, remember the 7-step process. If you want the handout, reach out to me and ask me, and I'll send it to you because I didn't have it right there, but I do have the handout as a PDF I can send you. Many people put it right on the wall just to remind them, am I doing something like that today? Hey, by the way, if you're interested in attending our GovCon conference coming up, we've got our first conference coming up, calling it the Summer Summit, and that's going to be in July. Just go to govconchamber.com/GovConRocks, and you'll be able to sign up and express interest in there. I think there is, right there is the URL. And then for all of us, as you head into your week, as you continue your success on your government contracting journey, just remember, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is ending on time. I'm a couple of minutes early. I'm happy. I will see you in the next training. Hope you have a great weekend.